Company. Move that back. Oop. Huh. Okay. This is Catalyst and Company. Catalyst and Company, where we're catalysts in each other's lives as well as our own, and hopefully we become the artists we've always wanted to be and reach the levels we've wanted to reach. Maybe get outside of ourselves. Get outside of what we've known and seeing and talking about different things, different techniques, whether it's here or in the comments down below, which I really appreciate. I really love. Anyway, I thought we'd do another studio mate this morning. I have to walk to work, but I've got about 30 minutes where we can start something. Because I've finished Amboy and Charles, at least for right now. He's sitting in my drawing room, in my bedroom / storage room / ex-garage / bedroom, drying with all the other paintings that are in there, or that are stored in there, blah, blah, blah. And the other painting I've been working on, let me go grab part of it. Okay, come here, you horsey. So here's the half of the other painting I've been working on. And to keep this moving along, I have to start something new. I have to have things in constant rotation so I don't get stuck. In different stages of development, in constant rotation, so I don't get stuck and focus on just one thing. It doesn't work for me. So I thought today I'd start working on this reference material from this photograph. And it's a photograph, obviously, I've had for a very long time and gotten very messy. So I photographed it on my iPad, blew up the image, but it's the iPad that we're using to do the studio mate on, so can't reference off that. But it's okay, I can work from the photograph for now. Originally, I had laid out the figure of a friend of mine's mother. Let me grab her. There was a painter on Cape Cod named Nancy Cole. She has since passed away, and we did a show together. I think we did a couple shows together, but that was like years ago. And as a child, I grew up knowing Nancy Cole's work. She primarily painted happy white kids on the beach, but she also did vintage images of little girls with baby carriages. And one thing that I loved was that the little girls and baby carriages were from different races. They weren't just white children, even though that was her audience, was happy, well-adjusted, rich white people. I'm projecting now, in the Chatham area of Cape Cod, which is considered the wealthy part of Cape Cod. So that was primarily her image, or her audience that I believe was her audience. Anyway, mine has a wider range, but I remember those photographs and how she handled the lace in some of their dresses and the linens in their dresses, and the way she handled the baby carriages especially. These inert objects weren't treated as an afterthought. They were treated as part of the subject matter. I didn't like all of her work. She's dead now, so I can say that. I didn't like all of her work, but I knew Nancy Cole. I knew Nancy Cole by reputation, and reputation on the Cape. She was prolific. She was a genius with color. People made fun of her because her work was kind of her subject matter was kind of simplistic in a way. Some of it was overtly audience-driven. Some came from the heart, all came from the heart. But I remember people made fun of her because she used a lot of greens, or tans, because she painted children at the beach. It's kind of a typical seaside theme, but children at the beach and women in sundresses at the beach. I'm not a fan of any of that particular genre, but it was her technique. Her Rockwell-like technique, her Norman Rockwell-like technique. So I admired her, and she had a fabulous, beautiful studio in Chatham that I got to visit a few times. Towards the end of her life, she got more and more bitter, like I find myself doing, getting more and more bitter and more frustrated. And it was sad in the end after our shows. Well, she, during our shows, she had a few temper tantrums. But at the end of her career, her son just took her artwork and basically sold it for nothing and scattered it to the wind. And there was one piece in particular I really wish I could have bought. It was this African American toddler pushing this baby carriage, and it was so exquisite and subtle, and the technique was so perfect. The technique that she used was so perfect that it just sits with me. It sits with me as deeply as, okay, kind of obscure, but this article about Alice Neal that the art critic, New York Magazine art critic Jerry Saltz wrote last year. Alice Neal had an opening at the Met, and Jerry Saltz wrote one of the more insightful articles about Alice Neal, or several articles about Alice Neal and her work. And it really touched me because he seemed to come at it not just from a writer's point of view and not just from the typical art critic point of view, but also from a deeper understanding of what it is to be an artist and to create art. Even though, as he says, he calls himself a failed artist. He really got it. He nailed it this time. I don't agree, again, with everything he writes. Some of it is pretty misogynistic and dumb. But this one particular Alice Neal article comes to mind every time I sit down to paint or stand to paint, go at a painting. As does Nancy Cole's use or depiction of lace and linen and cottons and shadow. There was another artist that I really admired who handled shadow beautifully, not in a way I can, and now I can't remember his name. Vickery, Viceroy, I believe. He was another artist from Cape Cod, who did a series of, through most of his career, did a series of paintings of nuns and butterflies and things. And it was the use of color and his very, very smooth and delicate technique, but how he was able to capture shading and shadowing in a way I can't. I paint like Shrek in kindergarten class using finger paints, whereas both Nancy and he were much smoother. So, anywho, don't remember why I brought that up, but I do think about Nancy Cole, this article by Jerry Saltz, and sometimes Vickery quite often when I'm painting. But we're going to tackle that figure. I was thinking about tackling this figure because she's smiling. In the last painting I did, Anne Boy and Charles, the young man was smiling, and I thought, well, that would be interesting to take that idea from one canvas to the next. The same way I'm taking the limited palette of blues, teals, whites, and titanium buff, and transparent thread, and translating it right now from one canvas to the next. I thought that would be fun to take the theme of a somewhat happier child, or a happier young woman in this case, from a happier young man to a happier young woman, and taking on to the whatever, just making it theme-ish. But I'm totally obsessed with her. I want to know what her deal was. So I'm going to start her. And as you can see, I need a sharper edge doily for the lace. But as you can see, I've already started spraying just a little bit. It's black and white gesso. We've already covered it in multiple videos, so we don't have to talk about it again. But now I'm going to try and lay out some basic shapes, colors, and textures using aerosol paint. And one of my favorite things to do when I'm laying down an image is to spray the aerosol and then wipe some of it off. So we get this nice in-between shading kind of a deal going on. I'm going to switch back to the blue. Now, I couldn't tell you what size nozzle I'm using. All I do is I grab one. I just grab whatever will work. Whatever sprays paint, actually, is what I grab. My friend Tyler at Black Lamp Tattoo gave me a whole bunch of caps, and I've been trying them out. But to be honest with you, I can only tell the difference between one and another on one particular cap. But it was spraying too wide for me today for this job. Spraying way too wide. So I'm going back to the one I feel I have a little bit more control over. I don't know what size it is. All I know is it's black. So I'm going to lay it in with blues and teals. Just lay in the basic shapes. Again, sticking with that limited palette. Removing some of the paint periodically. Move her up. Bottom of the vase. It's sitting on the table next to our little friend, our very unhappy little friend. Now these lines are not the end-all be-all. They'll change. The shape will change. Things will be moved around. This is just like sketching in. That's all it is. Just sketching in. I just sketched in the outline for her sash. Her sash comes down like this, and I know it's a little too wide, but I'm not worrying about it. If you look, I'm not worried, because I know in the end it'll all work out. It's all fixable. Remember our rule? It doesn't matter. It's all fixable and something else. Our 3 rules, and I can only remember 2 of them. Oh, doesn't matter. It's all fixable and something. Now I want to be careful over here because this is the table, and I may want to lay down some shapes using either doilies or some stencils I've cut. And one thing I've been thinking a lot about is my backgrounds, because I've been doing the same filigree or fancy backgrounds, you know, with all the swirlies and stuff, and I'm actually really bored with it. I hate being repetitive, and I've been nothing but repetitive on them, like in the horsey painting I just showed you, the hobby horse painting. It works well for the subject matter, but it's also like, ugh, okay, can you do something else now? Because I've used it on, I don't know, I've used that filigree and all the swirly bits and the flowers and things almost like an antique wallpaper on multiple paintings. And then after a while, it's like, it's just too repetitive. I get bored. Never mind the viewer, I get bored. And I know there's artists that will find their trick pony and then keep doing that one trick all over and over again. And I can't. It just doesn't feel genuine after a while. To me. I mean, there's artists like Kahinda Wiley who set this really elaborate, beautiful wallpaper in the back of and around and into their figures, and that doesn't feel tired. But when you have the techniques or you paint like I do, after a while, please stop doing that one thing over and over again. Find another note to sing. So there's her sleeve. And I want to attack her collar, which is all, it's lace bottom. Let's see what I have. Yeah, it's not in here. I gotta go get some lace doily out of my little lace doily drawer. I'll be right back. Alright, that's a bit of a problem. Maybe it's not here. Nope. So I don't know what I did with the lace that I like to use normally on these rather large pointed edges. I don't see it anywhere. It's a lace pattern that's shown up in several of my paintings. So I usually have it on hand, but I don't know what I've done with it. So I'm grabbing this little lace, this little doily, and we will just make it work somehow. We'll just make it work. It'll be fine. Like I said, it's just a guide. It's not written in stone. It is a shame. I'm going to lose some of those big shapes. Let's see. Since I'm losing some of the texture of the lace, I'm going to switch over back to the teal that I usually use in people's faces. We'll just see what happens. Again, I don't worry about this too much because there's always going to be stuff that needs to be fixed, always going to be stuff that needs to be corrected. As you can see, I'm not exact. It's just do it and worry about do it and worry about the consequences later. Kind of the story of my life. So we're going to add a pattern that really isn't there. Not in the reference material, but it still is super nifty. I'm going to switch to another doily so I can get some other patterns, which may or may not stay. May or may not. Kind of tiny. I've tried working with this particular pattern on dozens of paintings, but it's so tiny that it just doesn't always work with what I'm trying to do. But I keep trying. Now, usually in the face, I give it a splash of orange here and there, but with the limited palette, I'm not inviting it. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to introduce a color I'm not going to use. This is a challenge for me. I like doing, not like doing, but it is in my nature to do very vibrant colors. And the funny thing is, I don't wear vibrant colors. My place, wherever I live, is devoid of color. My poor neighbor across the street was trying to get me to help her pick out a color for her living room, and I'm like, dude, you're looking at the wrong person. Because the only color I like in wherever I'm living is white. And she was like, you're so confusing. I like white walls. I even bought, when my realtor started using this white, really light gray, I'm like, it's too much color. No, I like it. It's fine. Yes, dusty gray is just way too vibrant. Weirdo. So this is the vase that is sitting on a table next to our little friend. Where does her hand go? Her hand is right there. So to make a note to myself that this is skin, I'm just going to add some teal. The different colors are notes, for the most part. Like a writer sitting down with a legal pad with a couple of different color pens and a pencil and maybe a highlighter. I'm making notes to myself. Okay, this is going to be a fern. That'll be fun to paint. So in doing the backgrounds, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the background, which there isn't a lot of here, I think I'm going to pull out a painting I did of Alice Neal, the painter Alice Neal that we talked about earlier, and use her as a launching point, because I kept the background somewhat sparse. In the reference material for Alice, she was in a studio similar to what these two girls are in, a photography studio. And in that studio, there were ferns and also a wicker chair, like the baby carriages my friend Nancy used to paint. And so instead of putting in the swirlies and twirlies and the filigree and all of that in the background for that, I focused on that's wrong. I focused on the plants and keeping the background a little bit lighter in tone, and so exposing, if I remember correctly, and she's sitting right there. I see her all the time when I go to my bedroom / garage / storage room. I believe I left some of this black and white gesso exposed, even if it was just a little bit, if I recall correctly. In fact, why don't I go take a look? It's not exposed. It's just painted over very, very lightly. So I was doing a painting with some friends a couple weeks ago, and I think I mentioned this in another video, that one of them said he didn't understand what I was doing because I was sketching after I had already laid in the aerosol. He said, normally you sketch before you paint, but with me everything's in flux. It's not written in stone. It is all fixable, and it's okay to change your mind and change direction. So I don't worry about it. The edge of her dress, and her sash actually comes down like that. So I think I have her body a little shortened. Let's see how that does. That's better. That's better. I gotta go. Wait a minute, what time is it? It's 1:30. Yeah, I gotta go. We're experiencing high traffic here in Sarasota. Apparently everyone in the universe has come here to go to the beach, to one friggin' beach. And where I live, traffic gets tied up, so I can't, as everyone heads to this one bridge that goes to this one beach. Apparently not realizing the state of Florida is surrounded by ocean, and you can go, or Gulf and ocean, and you can go almost anywhere. You'll flock to this place, which is kind of crappy and crowded. But so I can't ride my scooter. I'll get squished. We like to avoid getting squished by people anxious to get to the beach. And anxiously trying to run to a place to relax. I don't want to stop. I love painting. All right, so we started sketching her in. She's clumsy and awkward. Clumsy and awkward and a blockhead right now, but that's all we're doing, literally, is blocking in the shape and making notations, and that's how we start. That's how I start my paintings. Black and white gesso, aerosol. You want to tilt up just a little bit, sir? There we go. So yeah, we went from painting one of painting Nancy Cole's mother, a portrait of Nancy Cole's mother, figure painting portrait thing, to moving on to somebody I've wanted to paint for a long time. I find the figure so interesting, and the look on her face, it just seems to hit me on a visceral level. Whereas the photograph of Nancy Cole is more decorative in feel. It just, or Nancy Cole's mom is more decorative in feel, and I like to stay away from things that are simplistic, slightly decorative in whatever I'm painting, whether it's abstracts or landscapes or figures and portraits. So, there we go. Blockhead happy girl. It's like she's a member of the Addams family. She's Tuesday's lost cousin. Tuesday Addams' lost cousin who's been locked in the basement for a while. So we've got it started. I gotta wash up and I gotta walk to work and try and cross a ton of traffic while people, frantically cram themselves onto a tiny peninsula. All right, I'm becklane. This is Catalyst & Company. If you'd like to help support Catalyst & Company, there are a myriad of ways, and all the links will be down below. They're down below each and every single video. Ways you can help support is Patreon, where I don't talk to people very much because I don't know what to say. But you can supply monthly support for as little as $5 a month. Cash App, PayPal, TeePublic, where you can buy images of my work on coffee mugs, tote bags, travel mugs, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all kinds of stuff. So I gotta go. I gotta run. I really gotta run. All right, ciao. Carrie, I got your note, by the way, Carrie, and I'm sorry you're having such a difficult time. I'm really sorry, buddy. But know that I think about you, okay? I do think about you. Anyway, take care. Ciao. Meow. Boink.